There's a certain kind of silence that follows betrayal. Not the peaceful kind that heals, but the heavy kind, the one that wraps around your heart like chains and whispers that you'll never be safe again. Danika Blake knew that silence too well, but love has a way of finding you when you've stopped believing. It comes quietly, disguised as safety, as someone who sees the person you forgot you were. And just when you start to trust it again, it's tested by the very darkness you tried to escape. This is the story of a woman who learned that real love isn't the one untouched by danger. It's the one that you stand and fight through it. Before we dive in, welcome to a love story that will make you feel everything. The pain, the healing, the butterflies, and that delicious moment when two broken people realize they're each other's missing piece. Hit that subscribe button right now. Yes, right now. Because this channel is your home for love stories that don't just entertain, but heal. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that beautiful love still exists. Now, let's get back to Danika and the man who's about to turn her world upside down. The restaurant was one of those places where silence cost more than noise. All marble floors and crystal chandeliers, where conversations were muted and power brokers made deals over $60 steaks. Danika Blake sat across from her father, Ashton Blake, pushing food around her plate. She'd barely eaten. Couldn't, really. Not when the weight of the past 3 months, the divorce, the freedom, the hollowness that came after, still pressed against her chest like a stone. "You look better," Ashton said, though his eyes betrayed his worry. "The cottage is treating you well?" "It's quiet, and I like quiet now." She managed a small smile. "Thank you for giving me space, Dad. I know you wanted me to come back to the estate, but I needed to breathe." Ashton reached across the table, covered her small hand with his large one. "You're my daughter. Whatever you need." "Danika," the voice cut through the restaurant like a blade through silk. Her entire body went rigid. Cameron. Her ex-husband stood 3 feet from their table, looking exactly as he always had, 6 feet of polished deception in a Tom Ford suit, with that smile that used to make her feel chosen and now just made her skin crawl. "Cameron!" Her voice came out steady, though her heart was a war drum in her chest. "What are you doing here?" "Having dinner, same as you." He glanced at Ashton with barely concealed contempt. "Mr. Blake, good to see you." Ashton's expression was carved from stone. Wish I could say the same. Cameron's smile tightened. His eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, fixed back on Danika. "I was hoping we could talk, alone." "We have nothing to talk about. I disagree." He moved closer, and Danika's chair scraped backwardly instinctively. Cameron noticed, and his jaw clenched. 3 years of marriage and you won't even have a conversation with me? We were good together, Danika. We can be again. We were never good together. You were good at pretending. I was good at surviving. Something dark flickered across his face. "Don't be dramatic. I made mistakes. I'm willing to work on them. We can go to counseling. Try again." "No." Danika stood, her petite frame trembling but her voice firm. "The answer is no. Today, tomorrow, forever. I'm not coming back." Cameron's hand shot out, gripped her wrist. Not hard enough to hurt. He was always careful about that, but firm enough to hold her in place. "Let go of her." Ashton was on his feet, voice low and dangerous. "We're just talking," Cameron said smoothly, but his grip didn't loosen. His thumb pressed against Danika's pulse point, a possessive gesture disguised as tenderness. "Aren't we, darling? Tell your father we're just talking." Ashton couldn't stand by anymore and moved closer to Cameron. "If your father wasn't powerful enough to stop me, I would have put you underground for hurting my baby a long time ago." He was visibly enraged. "Well, it's a good thing then that he can stop you." Cameron sneered. Danika yanked her hand back. "Don't touch me, don't call me, don't show up where I am." "We're done, Cameron." She grabbed her purse and walked out, Ashton close behind her, but not before she heard Cameron's parting words, soft and venomous. "You'll come back. You always do." In the car, Danika's hands shook so badly she had to sit on them. Ashton pulled out of the parking lot, knuckles white on the steering wheel. "That son of a—" "Dad, please, I just want to go home." "He touched you in public. Like he still has the right—" Ashton's voice cracked with fury and helplessness. "I should have done more during the divorce. Should have buried him. Should have—" You did what I asked. I didn't want a war. I just wanted out. They drove in tense silence for a long moment before Ashton spoke again, quieter now. His father called me yesterday. Danika's head snapped toward him. What? Richard Thornton. Wanted to discuss the children reconciling. Said Cameron was devastated, that you were being unreasonable. Ashton's laugh was bitter. The Thorntons have money, connections, political ties. They think that makes them untouchable. What did you tell him? That my daughter's safety and happiness aren't negotiable. But Danika? He pulled into her cottage driveway, turned to face her. I need you to understand something. The Thorntons are powerful. If Cameron decides to make trouble, really make trouble, I can fight him legally, financially, but it'll be messy. Public. And he knows that. So what are you saying? Ashton took a breath. I'm hiring you a bodyguard. Absolutely not. Danika, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not living in fear. I'm not letting him control my life even after the divorce. Her voice rose. And I'm not letting you make decisions for me like I'm still a child who needs managing. This isn't about control, it's about keeping you alive. He's not going to hurt me. He's too smart for that, too image conscious. Maybe. But I'm not willing to bet your life on maybe. Ashton's voice softened. Please, just let me do this. Let me keep you safe. Danika stared at her father. This man who'd built an empire from nothing, who'd given her everything, who loved her fiercely, but had never quite learned when to let go. You don't get to decide this, she said quietly. Not anymore. She got out of the car and walked into her cottage without looking back. But Ashton Blake didn't become a billionaire by taking no for an answer. Ethan Cole arrived 3 days later. Danika was in her garden, hands buried in soil, trying to lose herself in the rhythm of planting when she heard footsteps on the gravel path. She looked up and her breath caught. The man standing at the edge of her garden was substantial. 6'3" of solid muscle packed into a black tactical shirt and dark jeans, with a face that looked like it had been carved from granite and discipline. His hair was military short, dark brown almost black, and his eyes, storm gray and assessing, swept over the property with professional efficiency before landing on her. There was no warmth in those eyes. No friendliness, just cold, analytical assessment. Ms. Blake, I'm Ethan Cole. Your father hired me as your personal protection specialist. Danika stared at the man in her doorway like he'd just told her the sky was green. Excuse me? Ethan Cole, ma'am. Your father hired me to— My father, she interrupted, her voice dangerously calm, doesn't make decisions for me anymore. And I definitely didn't ask for a babysitter. Ethan's expression didn't change. Not even a flicker. With respect, ma'am, this isn't about what you asked for. It's about keeping you safe. Safe from what? Bad Yelp reviews on my skincare line? Your ex-husband has been making threats, Ms. Blake, your father takes those threats seriously. Danika stood, brushing dirt from her knees. Even standing, the top of her head barely reached his shoulders. My father can hire whoever he wants. Doesn't mean I agreed to it. Noted. I'll be staying in the guest house. My shift starts now. My shift? I'm sorry. Did I miss the part where I became a job? Something flickered in his expression. Irritation, maybe. You did miss the part where your ex-husband has been driving past your cottage 4 times in the past week. Where he's been calling from different numbers. Where he showed up at your father's office yesterday making veiled threats about protecting what's his. Danika's blood ran cold. How do you know all that? Because it's my job to know. Your father briefed me extensively. He pulled out a tablet, showed her surveillance photos. Cameron's Mercedes parked down the road from her cottage. You're being stalked, Ms. Blake, whether you want to admit it or not. The evidence was damning. Terrifying. But the way he said it, clinical, emotionless, like she was just another contract, made her defensive. So what, you're going to follow me around, lurk in corners, turn my life into a prison? I just escaped one controlling man. I'm not trading him for another. Ethan's jaw tightened. I'm not here to control you. I'm here to keep you breathing. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, you look like every other man who thinks he knows what's best for me. Lady, I don't care what's best for you. I care about doing my job and collecting my paycheck. You want to make that difficult, fine. But I'm not leaving, and I'm not debating this. Your father has a contract with my company. I'm here until that contract expires or you're no longer in danger. He turned toward the guest house. I'll try to stay out of your way. I suggest you do the same. He walked away, and Danika stood there, fury and fear warring inside her chest. She hated him already. For the first week, they orbited each other like hostile planets. Ethan was everywhere and nowhere. She'd see him doing perimeter checks at dawn, a dark silhouette moving through morning mist. He'd be in his truck when she went grocery shopping, maintaining a precise 50-foot distance. Once she woke at 2 a.m. to get water and found him standing outside her window, hand on his concealed weapon. Before he registered her face and relaxed fractionally, it was suffocating. She tried to talk to him. This is insane. I'm going to the post office, not a war zone. Noted. You don't have to follow me to the farmer's market. Yes, I do. Can you at least pretend to be human? His eyes met hers, flat, professional. No. He spoke in clipped sentences, never smiled. One afternoon, she snapped. She was trying to carry groceries from her car when one of the bags tore, sending apples rolling across the driveway. Ethan appeared from nowhere, started gathering them with military efficiency. I can do it myself, she said. I know. Then why are you helping? Because it's faster if we both do it. God, do you ever just feel things? Or is everything just tactics and efficiency? He straightened, handed her the apples. His expression was unreadable. Feelings get people killed, Ms. Blake. I learned that the hard way. There was something in his voice, a hairline crack in the armor, that made her pause. What happened to you? She asked softly. Nothing that concerns you. He walked away before she could respond. But Danika had spent 3 years learning to read the language of emotional wounds. She recognized them in him now. The way he never fully relaxed, the hypervigilance, the deliberate distance he maintained from everything warm or human. This man wasn't cold. He was frozen, self-protected, locked away. And despite herself, despite everything, she wanted to know why. 2 weeks into their hostile coexistence, Danika was in her living room at midnight, barefoot in an oversized t-shirt, dancing badly to 90s R&B and using a hairbrush as a microphone. She had wine in her system and exhaustion in her bones, and for the first time in months, she felt something close to lightness. She spun around, laughing at herself, and froze. Ethan stood in the doorway, tactical vest still on from his perimeter check, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite name. How long have you been standing there? Long enough to realize you have absolutely no rhythm. She threw a pillow at him. He caught it effortlessly. Was that humor from the robot? Excuse me, these are classic moves. You clearly have no appreciation for artistry. That's not artistry. That's a cry for help. Danika laughed, surprised. Did you just make a joke? Someone mark the calendar. Something shifted in his face. Not quite a smile, but close. Go to bed, Ms. Blake. It's late. Only if you stop calling me Ms. Blake. It makes me feel like I'm 80. What should I call you? My name, Danika. Try it. I promise it won't kill you. He looked at her for a long moment, and something in the air between them changed. Danika, he said, and the way her name sounded in his deep voice made her stomach flip. Better, she managed. Good night, Ethan. Good night. But neither of them moved for several heartbeats, caught in something neither could name. After that night, small cracks appeared in Ethan's armor. After that night with the music and the almost smile, something fundamental shifted between them. The hostility dissolved into something quieter, more uncertain, like two people learning a new language together. Ethan still did his perimeter checks with military precision, but now he'd pause at her kitchen window where she worked late, and she'd lift her mug in silent acknowledgement. She still rolled her eyes when he insisted on checking her car every morning, but she also started leaving that coffee on the porch railing, black, no sugar, always hot, never mentioned. They existed in the same space without friction, moving around each other like dancers learning steps, careful but no longer cold. Small gestures accumulated. He fixed her porch light without being asked. She made extra dinner and left it in containers he'd find later. He learned to knock softly instead of ringing the doorbell because loud noises made her flinch. She learned that he took his boots off at the door and lined them up with obsessive precision. They weren't friends. The walls were still there, just lower now, and through those gaps, something tentative and warm began to grow. One evening, as purple-orange sunset painted the sky and Danika sat on her balcony trying to work through some formulation notes, she heard his footsteps on the path below and, without thinking, called out, "Coffee's getting cold if you want some." He paused, looked up at her silhouetted against the fading light, and after a moment that felt like a choice being made, nodded and climbed the steps to join her. "Why do you do this?" Danika asked after he was seated. "The bodyguard thing. You were military, right? You could do anything." Ethan was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. "Afghanistan third tour. We were escorting a civilian convoy, aid workers, doctors. Good people trying to help." His voice was flat, reciting facts. Ambush came out of nowhere. IED took out the lead vehicle. Small arms fire from both sides. We fought, but... He stopped, jaw clenching. 3 civilians died, including a woman, Sarah. She was a nurse from Ohio. Had a daughter back home, 7 years old. Ethan, I was 10 feet away. 10 feet. And I couldn't save her. He looked at her then, and the pain in his eyes was raw enough to cut. I replay it every night. Different choices, faster reaction time, better positioning. Always ends the same way. "She was something more, wasn't she?" Danika asked after a long pause, but he only nodded. He couldn't bring himself to explain the painful memory he had locked away. "That wasn't your fault." "Wasn't it? I was trained for that, paid for that. My entire purpose was protecting people, and I failed. I couldn't protect that one person that mattered." Danika understood suddenly why he was the way he was. The hypervigilance, the emotional distance, the rigid control. "So you became a bodyguard to make up for it," she said softly. "To do the one thing I'm good at. It's clean. Simple. I get assigned a principal, I keep them safe, contract ends. No complications. And you don't let yourself care. Because caring means feeling. And feeling means it hurts when you fail." His head turned toward her sharply. "You psychoanalyzing me now?" "No, just recognizing something I know too well." She pulled the blanket tighter. Emotional lockdown, it's effective until it's not. They sat in silence, and then Ethan asked quietly, "What happened with your ex?" Danika had known this conversation was coming, had been both dreading and needing it. "Cameron was perfect at first, charming, attentive, made me feel like the most important person in the world. We got married fast, too fast, and then..." She swallowed hard. Then the mask started slipping. "He hit you?" "No, Cameron was too smart for that. He never left marks you could see." Her voice went hollow. "He'd isolate me from friends. Always had a reason why they were bad influences. He'd criticize everything, my clothes, my work, my opinions, but in this concerned, loving way. He controlled our finances, monitored my phone, told me where I could go and when. That's abuse. I know that now. Took me 2 years to see it, another year to find the courage to leave." She looked at Ethan. The worst part wasn't the control, it was how he made me doubt myself. Every fight, he'd twist things until I was apologizing for things I didn't do. Until I genuinely believed I was the problem, that I was too sensitive, too emotional, too broken. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. Where is he now? Legally, 50 feet away from me at all times. Restraining order. She laughed bitterly. Lot of good that's done. If he touches you again? You'll do what? Beat him up and go to jail? Danika shook her head. That's what he wants. An excuse to play victim, to say I'm unstable, that I need him. She met Ethan's eyes. The best revenge is living well, being happy, showing him he didn't break me. Did he? The question hung between them, honest and sharp. Almost, Danika whispered, but not quite. Ethan reached over, his large calloused hand covering her small one. The gesture was careful, asking permission. She turned her palm up, laced their fingers together. They sat like that until dawn, hands joined, two damaged people finding unexpected comfort in shared silence. After that night, something fundamental shifted. She started noticing the tiny gestures of care. How he positioned himself between her and any potential threat, instinctive and unconscious. He was still reserved, still professional, But there were cracks in the armor now, and through those cracks, she glimpsed something warm and human and devastating. She was falling for him, and it terrified her. The moment everything exploded happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Danika was having a spectacularly bad day. Her skincare line had hit production delays, her therapist appointment had been canceled, and she'd made the mistake of checking social media, only to find photos of Cameron at some charity gala with a new girlfriend. Young, beautiful, smiling adoringly at him, the same way Danika had smiled once, before she learned what that smile cost. She was in her kitchen, stress-baking cookies she didn't want, when Ethan walked in from his afternoon perimeter check, soaked from rain. "You should come inside when it's storming," she said without looking up. "Can't. Schedule doesn't stop for weather. Your schedule is going to get you struck by lightning." "Worth the risk." She glanced up at him, water dripping from his hair, shirt plastered to his muscular frame, looking like some kind of warrior fresh from battle, and something inside her just broke. "Why are you like this?" The words came out sharper than intended. Ethan went still. "Like what?" "So dedicated to keeping everyone safe that you forget to keep yourself safe. So busy protecting people that you won't let anyone protect you." Her voice cracked. "Do you even care if you live or die, Ethan?" "That's not because I care." The admission tumbled out before she could stop it. "I care if something happens to you. I care that you stand out in lightning storms and skip meals and barely sleep. I care about you, okay? And I hate that I do, because caring about someone again is terrifying. And you're my bodyguard, and this is completely inappropriate, and I—" Ethan crossed the kitchen in 3 strides, cupped her face in his hands, and kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tentative. It was desperate and fierce and full of months of denied want. Danika made a sound, surprise, relief, need, and kissed him back, fingers tangling in his wet hair, pulling him closer even though there was no closer to get. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ethan pressed his forehead to hers. "This is the worst idea I've ever had," he said roughly. "Terrible," she agreed. "I could lose my job?" "Probably will. Your father will kill me. Most definitely. I don't care." His hand slid into her hair, tilted her face up. "I haven't cared about anything in 8 years. And then you came along with your terrible cooking and your beautiful smile and the way you see straight through every wall I've built. And suddenly I care about everything again. Ethan, I'm not good at this. Relationships. Feelings. I'm broken, Danika. The things I've seen, the things I've done. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference." She touched his face, traced the scar above his eyebrow. "I'm healing too. Maybe we can be broken and healing together." He kissed her again, softer this time, like she was precious and fragile, and everything he'd ever wanted but never thought he'd deserve. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "I know it's too soon. I know it's complicated, but I love you." Danika's heart felt too big for her chest. "I love you too, my overprotective, emotionally constipated bodyguard." He laughed, really laughed, and the sound was the most beautiful thing she'd ever heard. For 3 weeks, they existed in a perfect secret bubble, stolen moments in darkened hallways, kisses in the rain, Ethan pulling her into his arms at night, holding her like she might disappear, whispering promises against her hair. "I've got you, always." Danika learned the geography of his scars, the shrapnel wound on his shoulder, the knife mark across his ribs, the burn on his forearm. She traced each one like a prayer, mourning the pain he'd survived, grateful he'd survived it all. Ethan learned her triggers, sudden loud noises, men standing too close, the specific tone of voice that meant control disguised as concern. He learned to give her space when she needed it, presence when she didn't. They were careful. Discreet. Ashton didn't know, and they intended to keep it that way until they figured out how to navigate the impossibility of their situation. But secrets, Danika had learned, never stayed secret for long. Cameron had been watching, waiting, seething. He'd hired a private investigator, expensive, discreet, thorough. And now he had photos, videos, proof of his ex-wife in the arms of the help. It was perfect, better than he'd hoped, because Cameron Thornton didn't just want Danika back. He wanted her humiliated, broken, desperate enough to come crawling back and admit she'd been wrong. And this little affair with her bodyguard was exactly the leverage he needed. We're going to pause right here because if your heart is racing, if you're feeling everything Danika and Ethan are feeling, I need you to do something. Hit that like button and let me know you're invested in this story. Subscribe if you haven't already because you need more love stories that make your chest tight and your eyes sting. If you're really feeling this, hit that super thanks button. Your support helps me create more emotionally devastating, beautiful stories like this one. And share this video with someone who believes in love that heals. Now let's see how Cameron tries to destroy what Danika and Ethan are building. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Danika was making breakfast, actual edible breakfast she'd learned from watching Ethan, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number, something cold slithered down her spine. Hello? Danika, it's Cameron. She nearly dropped the phone. Ethan, who'd been reading tactical reports at the kitchen table, was on his feet immediately, moving toward her. How? Did I get your number? He mocked. I always find a way, darling, you know that. His voice was oil smooth, laced with poison. I wanted to give you a courtesy call before the story breaks. What story? Check your email. The subject line is the Blake heiress's dirty little secret. Catchy, isn't it? Her hands trembled as she opened her email. Ethan read over her shoulder, his body going rigid. Photos, dozens of them, her and Ethan kissing on the porch, his hand on her waist. Her head on his shoulder, their fingers intertwined, timestamps, locations, everything documented with damning precision. And a message. Billionaire's daughter Danika Blake, barely divorced, caught in sordid affair with hired help. Full story releases in 24 hours unless you come home where you belong. Your choice, darling. But choose quickly. The phone slipped from Danika's hand. Ethan caught it, his face a mask of cold fury. He can't release these. Invasion of privacy, stalking. He's a Thornton. They own half the judges in this state. Danika's voice sounded distant, hollow. He'll release them, and even if we sue, the damage will be done. My father's company, my business, your career. I don't care about my career. I do. The words came out sharp. You think I'm going to let him destroy you? Let him take away everything you've built because I was stupid enough to fall in love? That's not stupid. That's the bravest thing you've ever done. It's selfish. Her breath hitched. God, what have I done? Ethan pulled her into his arms, held her while she shook. We'll fight this, together. Your father has resources, we'll get lawyers. My father. Danika pulled back, ice flooding her veins. Oh God, we have to tell him before Cameron does. Ashton Blake's office was all glass and steel and barely contained devastation. Danika had never seen her father like this. Not angry, she'd expected anger, but betrayed. Wounded, like she'd taken something precious and shattered it deliberately. How long? His voice was quiet, which was somehow worse than shouting. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. 3 weeks you've been lying to me. I wasn't lying, You let me pay for security to protect you, and you turned him into... Ashton couldn't even finish. He turned to Ethan, standing rigid near the door. I trusted you. I brought you into my daughter's home because I believed you were professional. Honorable. Sir? Don't. Ashton's voice cracked. Don't sir me. Don't pretend this was anything but a massive betrayal of trust. You were supposed to protect her, not seduce her. He didn't seduce me, Danika stepped between them. I fell in love with him. He tried to maintain boundaries, tried to stay professional, and clearly failed. Because I pushed. Because for the first time in years, I felt safe with someone. Because he sees me, Dad, really sees me. Not the victim, not the broken daughter, not the business asset me. And what happens now? Ashton gestured at the photos on his desk. When these hit the news? When every tabloid in the country runs stories about the Blake heiress and her bodyguard? When your ex-husband uses this to paint you as unstable, impulsive? Then we fight it. With what? He has proof, Danika. Proof that you entered into an inappropriate relationship with an employee. Proof that you've moved on remarkably fast from a marriage you claimed destroyed you. His words were surgical, precise. Cameron will use this, and he'll win. Ethan spoke, voice rough. Then I'll leave. If my presence is the problem, I'll remove myself. Resign from the contract. Danika can hire different security— No! Danika spun toward him. Don't you dare. Don't you dare let him win like this. He's already won. Ashton's voice was heavy with finality. Mr. Cole, consider your contract terminated effective immediately. I'll contact your company to arrange replacement security. You have 2 hours to clear out. Dad, please. This isn't a discussion. Ashton looked at his daughter, and there was something almost pitying in his eyes. I'm trying to protect you, even if you can't see that right now. You're not protecting me. You're controlling me, just like Cameron did. Danika's voice broke. I thought you were different. I thought you understood. I understand that you're making decisions based on emotion instead of logic. That you're risking everything we've built for a man you barely know. I know him better than I knew Cameron after 3 years of marriage. And look how that turned out. The words hit like a slap. Danika stared at her father, this man who'd given her everything except the one thing she needed most. The freedom to make her own choices, even the wrong ones. I'm not coming back to the estate, she said quietly, and I'm not giving him up because you're afraid of scandal. Then you'll deal with the consequences. Both of you. Ashton pressed a button on his desk. Security will escort you out. Ethan looked at Danika, anguish written across his face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize for loving me. 2 security guards appeared. Ethan went with them without resistance, but his eyes never left Danika until he disappeared through the door. She turned to her father, tears streaming down her face. I'll never forgive you for this. You don't have to forgive me. You just have to stay alive. Danika walked out, leaving her father standing alone in his empire of glass, looking suddenly smaller than she'd ever seen him. The next 72 hours were agony. Ethan was gone, his number disconnected. His company stonewalling her calls. Ashton had replaced him with 2 men, efficient and cold, who treated her like a package to be delivered, not a person. She tried to find him, called every contact she had, nothing. And Cameron's deadline loomed like a guillotine. Danika didn't sleep, couldn't eat. The cottage felt cavernous without Ethan's presence, and she realized with startling clarity that somewhere along the way, it had stopped being her sanctuary and become their home. On the 3rd day, she made a decision. The meeting was set for neutral ground, a coffee shop downtown, public enough that Cameron wouldn't try anything physical, private enough for conversation. Danika arrived 10 minutes early, heart hammering, the 2 bodyguards her father assigned positioned discreetly nearby. Cameron walked in precisely on time, looking every inch the concerned ex-husband, tailored suit, sympathetic expression, the mask firmly in place. He sat across from her, ordered a coffee like this was a casual catch-up between old friends. You look tired, he said, false concern dripping from every word. Not sleeping well? What do you want, Cameron? I want my wife back. I'm not your wife. Legally, no. But in every way that matters, you'll always be mine, Danika. You know that. He leaned forward. Come home, we'll put this ugliness behind us. I'll forgive the affair, the disrespect. There's nothing to forgive because I did nothing wrong. I fell in love with a good man. A better man than you'll ever be. Cameron's mask slipped. That mercenary? That hired thug? You think he loves you? He was paid to protect you, Danika. It's a job. When the money stops, so does his interest. You're wrong. Am I? Where is he right now? Cameron spread his hands. Your father fired him, and what did he do? Left, disappeared, because without the paycheck, you're nothing to him. Stop talking. I'm trying to save you from yourself again. He reached across the table, tried to take her hand. She jerked it back. The photo's released tomorrow unless you come back. Just think about what that means. Your reputation, your father's business, your little skincare line. All of it tarnished because you couldn't keep your legs closed for 3 months after our divorce. The words were designed to wound, to shame, to make her feel small. 3 months ago, they would have worked. But Danika had spent the past 3 months learning to trust herself again, learning to recognize manipulation for what it was. She stood, looked down at him with something like pity. Release the photos. I don't care anymore. Cameron's eyes widened. You're bluffing. I'm not. Do your worst. Destroy my reputation. Paint me as a whore or a homewrecker or whatever narrative makes you feel powerful. Her voice was steady now, certain. But you'll never have me again. Not my body, not my mind, not my fear. I'm done letting you control my life. She walked out, leaving him sitting there in impotent rage. But as she got into the car with her bodyguards, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Wrong choice. He pays for your defiance. Danika's blood turned to ice. Drive to Ethan's apartment. Now. Ma'am, we're supposed to take you straight home. I said now! The desperation in her voice made the driver comply. They pulled up to the address she'd memorized from Ethan's file. A modest apartment complex on the east side. His truck was in the parking lot. Danika was out of the car before it fully stopped. Ms. Blake, wait! She ran for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, her heart a war drum in her chest. 3rd floor, unit 312. She pounded on the door. Ethan? Ethan? No answer. She tried the handle. Locked. One of the bodyguards caught up to her. Ma'am, you need to calm down. Break it down. What? Break down the door. Something in her face must have convinced him. He radioed his partner, and together they kicked the door in. The apartment was empty. Neat, sparse, the home of a man who'd learned not to get attached to anything. But there was a note on the kitchen counter in Ethan's precise handwriting. Danika, had to take care of something. Don't look for me, stay safe, always. E. The note fell from her trembling hands. He'd gone after Cameron. She knew it with bone-deep certainty. Ethan, with his guilt complex and his need to protect and his absolute refusal to let anyone hurt the people he loved, had gone to confront Cameron. And Cameron had been ready for exactly that. She grabbed her phone, called Ashton. He answered on the first ring. Danika. Dad, where's Cameron right now? Where is he? Why? What's happening? Where is he? A pause. According to my security team, he left the coffee shop and drove to his father's estate. Why? How fast can I get there? Danika, you're not thinking straight. He's going to hurt Ethan. He sent a message. Dad, please. I know you hate me right now. I know you think I'm making terrible choices, but please help me. Another pause, longer. When Ashton spoke again, his voice was different. Shaken. I don't hate you. I could never hate you. Then help me save him. I already did. I pulled your new security team 40 minutes ago. Danika's world tilted. What? I had them watching Cameron. When he left the coffee shop, he made 3 phone calls. 2 to known associates with criminal records, 1 to a disposable cell. My security analyst flagged it. Ashton's voice was tight with something that might have been fear or guilt or both. I think he's setting up something at the estate, something violent, and I think he's baiting your bodyguard. Oh God, I'm sending my security team to the estate now. But Danika, you need to stay away. Let the professionals handle this. She hung up. Ran for the car. Thornton Estate, the one in Westbrook. Get me there in 15 minutes or I swear to God. The driver looked at his partner, then back at her. Hold on. The car peeled out of the parking lot. The Thornton Estate was a sprawling monument to old money. 10 acres of manicured lawns, a main house that looked like a Georgian mansion, guest houses and gardens, and a security gate designed to keep out the riffraff. People exactly like her. Danika didn't slow down. Ma'am, we can't just ram it! The driver's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror, saw something wild and desperate there, and made his choice. The SUV hit the gates at 40 miles per hour. The gates buckled, twisted, and finally gave way. They were through. Danika was out of the car the moment it stopped, her bare feet hitting manicured lawn, and started running toward the sound of fighting in the East Garden. Her bodyguards shouted for her to wait, to stop, but she couldn't. Wouldn't, because somewhere in that garden, the man she loved was in danger, and she'd already lost too much to fear and hesitation. She burst through the hedge entrance and her heart stopped. Ethan was on the ground, on his knees, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. 2 massive men stood over him with batons, and he was fighting. God, he was still fighting, but he was losing. Exhausted, overwhelmed, and 10 feet away, Cameron stood with his phone recording everything. That sick smile on his face. Stop! Danika screamed, running forward. Everyone froze. Cameron's head snapped toward her, and something shifted in his expression. Surprise, then calculation, then rage. Danika. Perfect timing. He reached into his jacket. Ethan saw it before she did. The gun, small and silver, emerging from Cameron's inner pocket. No. Ethan's voice was raw, desperate. Cameron's hand came up, weapon aimed directly at Danika. You should have come back when I asked nicely. Time fractured into slow motion. Ethan surged to his feet with strength born of pure terror. Not for himself, never for himself, but for her. Danika saw his intention, saw him moving, and screamed, "Ethan, no!" But he was already there, his large body placing itself between her small frame and the barrel of Cameron's gun. If you want to hurt her, Ethan said, voice steady despite the blood and exhaustion, you go through me first. That can be arranged. The gunshot cracked through the night like thunder. Ethan's body jerked, stumbled backward, and fell. No! Danika's scream tore from somewhere primal and broken. She dropped to the ground beside him, her small hands immediately going to his chest where blood bloomed dark and terrifying across his torn tactical shirt. No, no, no. Ethan, stay with me. Stay with me. Her hands pressed against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. But there was so much blood. Too much. Ethan's storm gray eyes found hers, already losing focus. You're safe, he managed, blood on his lips. That's all that matters. You don't get to do this. You don't get to save me and leave me. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the blood on her hands. I need you. I love you. Please. His large hand shaking came up to touch her face, left a smear of blood on her cheek. Love you. Always. His eyes fluttered closed. Ethan! No! Someone call 911! Help! She cradled his head in her lap, one hand still pressed desperately against his chest, the other stroking his face. Stay with me, baby. Please stay with me. Help is coming. Just hold on. Behind her, chaos erupted. Her bodyguards tackled Cameron. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had triggered the alarm when they rammed the gate. More security poured into the garden, but Danika couldn't focus on any of it. Her entire world had narrowed to the man dying in her arms. I can't lose you, she whispered, pressing her forehead to his. Not like this. Not when we just found each other. Please, Ethan, please don't leave me. His chest still rose and fell, shallow, weak, but still moving. She held him tighter, praying to every god she didn't believe in, making bargains with the universe, promising anything, if he would just survive. Paramedics arrived 6 minutes later. 6 minutes that felt like 6 lifetimes. They had to pry her away from him. She fought them, screaming, until one of the EMTs, a kind-faced woman with gentle hands, said, "Let us save him. Let us do our job." Danika stepped back, her entire body shaking, covered in his blood, watching as they worked with terrifying efficiency. Gunshot wound to the chest, pulse weak and thready. Significant blood loss. We need to move now. They loaded him onto a stretcher, started an IV, covered him with thermal blankets. Danika climbed into the ambulance without asking permission. No one tried to stop her. She held his hand the entire ride, whispering to him, begging him to hold on, telling him about the life they were going to have, the future waiting for them, all the mornings and arguments and terrible pancakes and perfect moments they hadn't lived yet. His hand was cold in hers, but his heart was still beating. The hospital waiting room was sterile and cold and filled with the worst kind of silence. Danika sat in a plastic chair, still wearing her blood-soaked dress, her twisted curls matted with sweat. She stared at nothing, saw everything. Ethan's face as he stepped in front of her. The sound of the gunshot, his body falling. The blood, so much blood. Danika, she looked up. Ashton stood there, his face drawn with worry and guilt and 1,000 things left unsaid. How is he? In surgery. Her voice was hollow. They said the bullet missed his heart by 2 inches. Collapsed lung, internal bleeding. They don't know if... Her voice broke. I can't lose him, Dad, I can't. Ashton sat beside her, pulled her into his arms. She collapsed against him, finally letting herself break, sobbing into his expensive suit like she was 6 years old again, and he could fix everything. This is my fault, Ashton said roughly. I pulled security. I thought I was teaching Cameron a lesson, that he'd get spooked and back off. I never imagined he shot him. Danika pulled back, looked at her father with red, swollen eyes. Cameron shot Ethan because I chose him, because I dared to be happy with someone who wasn't Cameron. I know, and I will make sure he pays for every second of pain he's caused you. Both of you. Will you? Can you? The Thorntons are powerful, but attempted murder, caught on multiple security cameras with 24 witnesses. Ashton's voice was steel. Even they can't buy their way out of that. Cameron's going to prison, sweetheart, for a very long time. Hours later, a surgeon emerged, still in his scrubs, exhaustion etched into his face. Here for Ethan Cole? Danika was on her feet instantly. How is he? He made it through surgery. The bullet was removed successfully. We repaired the damage to his lung and stopped the internal bleeding. The next 48 hours are critical, but... The surgeon smiled tiredly. He's strong. Stubborn, according to his vitals. I think he's going to make it. Danika's legs gave out. Ashton caught her. Can I see him? He's in recovery, still unconscious from anesthesia. But yes, you can see him. The ICU room was all beeping machines and harsh fluorescent lights and the steady rhythm of a heart monitor that was the most beautiful sound Danika had ever heard. Ethan lay in the hospital bed, looking too pale, too still, too vulnerable. Tubes and wires connected him to machines. A ventilator breathed for him. Bandages covered his chest. But his heart monitor beeped steadily. He was alive. Danika pulled a chair close to his bedside, took his large hand in both of her small ones, and let herself cry, relief and fear and love all tangled together. You scared me, she whispered. You stupid, heroic, self-sacrificing idiot. You scared me so badly. He didn't respond. Didn't move. Just lay there, chest rising and falling with mechanical precision. I know you can hear me. The nurses said you might be able to hear me. She squeezed his hand. So I need you to listen. You don't get to die, Ethan Cole. You don't get to take a bullet for me and then leave me alone in this world. That's not how this works. His hand was warm now. That was good. That meant blood flow. That meant healing. Do you remember what you said? That you haven't cared about anything in 8 years? Well, I care about you. I care so much. And you promised me forever. So you don't get to back out of that now. She pressed his hand to her cheek, closed her eyes. I spent 3 years in a relationship that made me feel small and worthless and broken. And then you came into my life and made me feel seen, safe, strong. You didn't try to fix me or save me. You just stood beside me while I learned to save myself. Her voice cracked. And now you've literally saved my life. Took a bullet meant for me. So you have to wake up. You have to be okay. Because I can't do this without you. I don't want to. The machines beeped steadily. The ventilator hissed. Danika held his hand and kept talking, filling the silence with memories and promises and desperate love. 36 hours later, just after dawn, his hand twitched in hers. Danika jerked awake. She'd been dozing in the chair, unwilling to leave even when nurses suggested she get rest. Ethan, his eyes fluttered, confused and hazy but open. Oh, thank God, you're awake. Danika pressed the nurse call button and leaned over him, careful not to jostle any tubes. Hey, hi, welcome back. Ethan's eyes focused on her face. His mouth moved, but the ventilator tube prevented speech. Don't try to talk. You're in the hospital, but you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. His hand squeezed hers weakly. A nurse rushed in, followed by a doctor. They checked vitals, asked questions, shone lights in his eyes. After several minutes, the doctor nodded. Let's remove the ventilator. His lung function looks good. The process took a few minutes. When it was finally out, Ethan coughed, grimaced, and looked at Danika with clearer eyes. You're okay? His voice was rough, barely a whisper. She laughed through fresh tears. Am I okay? You got shot, you impossible man. I'm fine. You're the one... Took a bullet, meant for you. I know, and you stepped in front of it like an idiot. A heroic, self-sacrificing idiot. Would do it. Again. He tried to smile. Every time. I know you would. That's why I'm never letting you out of my sight again. She leaned down carefully, pressed her lips to his forehead. I love you so much. I love you. His eyes were already drifting closed again, exhausted. Always. She held his hand as he fell back asleep, this time peaceful and healing, and felt something in her chest finally unlock. He was going to live. They were going to be okay. When Ethan was fully conscious and stable, Ashton came to visit. He stood in the doorway of the hospital room, looking at the young man who'd taken a bullet for his daughter, and something in his carefully constructed armor crumbled. "Mr. Blake?" Ethan said, trying to sit up straighter. Danika gently pushed him back down. "Don't. You're recovering." Ashton stepped closer. "I owe you an apology that I'm not sure words can cover. Sir, I left you exposed. And my arrogance, my need to control the situation, nearly got you killed." His voice was raw. "You took a bullet meant for my daughter because I wasn't protecting either of you properly." Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then, "You were trying to protect her the only way you knew how. By pushing away the person who made her happy? By firing the man who actually kept her safe?" Ashton shook his head. "That's not protection, that's control. And I'm done trying to control her life." He looked at Danika, who sat beside Ethan's bed holding his hand. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. For everything. For not trusting you to make your own choices. For treating your love like a scandal instead of the blessing it clearly is." His eyes shifted back to Ethan. "And I'm sorry to you for questioning your honor, for failing to see that you love my daughter the right way, as a partner, not a possession." "Mr. Blake, Ashton, please, you're going to be my son-in-law eventually. Might as well start now." Danika's breath caught. "Dad, I see the way you look at each other, the way you protect each other. That's real. That's what I should have wanted for you all along." He cleared his throat. "I've already spoken with your company, settled everything with your contract, ensured there are no professional repercussions. And I've retained the best attorneys in the state to make sure Cameron Thornton never sees freedom again." "Is he," Danika started, "in custody, charged with attempted murder. No bail. His father tried to intervene, but there's too much evidence. Security footage, witnesses. The weapon with his fingerprints, multiple charges." Ashton's voice was grim with satisfaction. "He's going away for at least 15 years. Possibly more." Danika exhaled shakily. "Good. And you two?" Ashton looked between them. "When you're ready, when Ethan's healed, I'd like to get to know you properly. As my daughter's partner, as the man who loves her." He extended his hand to Ethan. "If you'll let me." Ethan, despite the pain and exhaustion, reached out and shook Ashton's hand. "I'd like that, sir." "Ashton," he corrected gently. After Ashton left, Danika climbed carefully into the hospital bed beside Ethan, mindful of his injuries, and laid her head on his shoulder. "You heard him," she said softly. "Son-in-law eventually." "Eventually," Ethan agreed, pressing a kiss to her hair. "When I can get down on one knee without passing out. Take your time, I'm not going anywhere." "Neither am I." His arm came around her carefully. "Forever, remember?" "Forever," she promised. 6 months later. The launch party for Safe Love, her skincare products, was everything Danika had dreamed. But the real triumph wasn't the business success. It was standing on that stage, seeing Ethan at the back of the room and knowing they'd survived the worst. That they'd fought for each other, that they'd chosen love even when it was dangerous. When she walked off stage toward him, leaving her speech unfinished, no one was surprised. "You still guarding me, Cole? Always?" He pulled her close, his chest fully healed now, his strength returned. "Only if you keep giving me trouble." "Oh, I plan to give you trouble for the rest of your life." "Promise?" She kissed him, soft and sweet and certain, while the crowd applauded. And somewhere in a maximum security prison, Cameron Thornton sat in a cell wearing orange jumpsuit, stripped of his power and privilege, charged with attempted murder amongst other things, and serving 20 years jail term. He was finally facing the consequences of his cruelty. Justice had come. Later that night, after the party wound down and the guests went home, Ethan and Danika sat on the porch of her cottage, watching stars appear in the darkening sky, no deadlines, no threats. No one trying to control or manipulate or destroy what they'd built together. Just two people who'd been broken and healing, finding wholeness in each other. "Hey," Ethan said against her lips. "Marry me." Danika pulled back, eyes wide. What? Marry me. Not now, not soon. Whenever you're ready, a year, 5 years, 10. I don't care. He tucked a curl behind her ear, his gray eyes serious and soft. I just want you to know that this isn't temporary for me. You're not a phase or a contract that expires. You're it, forever, if you'll have me. Tears spilled down Danika's cheeks, the good kind this time, the kind that came from too much happiness contained in too small a space. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you, someday, when we're ready. When you're ready, he corrected gently. When I'm ready, she agreed. They sat like that for a long time, wrapped in each other and starlight, and the profound peace of knowing they were safe. Danika Blake had survived hell and come out the other side scarred but stronger. And Ethan Cole, the bodyguard who'd forgotten how to feel until a petite, beautiful woman with a terrible sense of humor and extraordinary courage had crashed into his life, had learned that the heart he'd thought was too broken to love was just waiting for the right person to hold it carefully. Together, they'd built something neither thought they deserved, a love that felt like coming home. And they lived, not in a perfect fairy tale where nothing ever went wrong, but in a real, messy, beautiful life where they chose each other every single day, again and again and again. If this story touched your heart, if you felt every moment with Danika and Ethan, I need you to know, you deserve this kind of love too. The kind that sees you, protects you without controlling you, and celebrates your strength. It's real, it's out there, and it's waiting for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share this journey with you. Subscribe and comment below. Did this make you cry? Did it give you hope? Did it make you believe in love again? Also share this with someone who needs to hear that beautiful, soul-stirring, life-changing love still exists. Until next time, remember, you are worthy of love that feels like peace, so don't settle for anything less.